Well, I believe that shooting any platform, if you're understanding the principles behind it, is what makes you much more aware of how to do it well.
All right, we're back here on the range. What I'd like to talk about with everybody today, let's talk a little bit about seeing what you need to see, as well as visual accountability, shot accountability. When we're out there practicing, maybe shooting competition, maybe just playing with a timer, trying to throw bullets as fast as you can, it's real fun for people. They tend to train without a penalty. They just shoot the shot, and whatever happens, happens. They just get a do-over. We all know that in a situation where we're faced with a possibility in a real world or wherever, that you don't get do-overs. You have to live with the consequences of what you've done. So what I'd like to do here is talk a little bit about visual acceptability in terms of what we see versus its performance on a target. And I'm going to move back. This is a roughly 3-inch circle, and then it's surrounded by a 6-inch circle. And I'm going to use each one of these sights, pictures. Here you have properly aligned. Here you have the front sights elevated. Front sight's halfway down. Front sight's touching the left side. And the front sight's over on the right side. So let's take this back about 8 or 9 yards. Take it back. Put my ears on. We're about in here. Going to use the first sight picture there that we talked about. And we'll shoot the first sight picture we looked at on there. Everything looks good. Putting it where it belongs. Now it's halfway out. Loading it halfway out of there. Now it's halfway down. Oops, a little bit. Not quite. I can't make myself do something bad, so I'm really having to work on this. Let me redo that one. There we go. Now it's all the way to the left. All the way to the left. And now it's all the way to the right. All right, so let's go have a look at that. And as you can see, even with these extremes at about 8-9 yards, we don't have a lot of variation. It basically fits within the palm of my hand. So on acceptability for shots that aren't as tough, it can be floating a little bit. It can be floating a little bit. But the left and right stuff, if we're shooting people, we want to stay on the center line of the body. This is where your major arteries go up into the neck and the brain, branch off. The heart is in here, in this region. And then you really want to keep it more towards the spinal column area. So we shoot center line, not necessarily center mass. Out here is the lungs in this area. But I prefer to center my shots. So on visual acceptability, I will take anything that looks like this or this. Slightly high or centered. And so when we look at it, let's just take a few shots. What I'm looking for, and we'll retreat to about 7 yards, 5 to 7 yards. When I draw the gun, come in, that's what I'm looking to see. And I'm seeing that for each and every shot I fire. It's coming down, it's staying centered. That's my grip and my stance, helping it stay centered. But my vision, it only needs to see the sight coming back, coming back, coming back. I know it's not going over here too far. It's mostly doing this. It may stop here or be level. Now let's look at something on the other side of the extreme. Now we have a no-shoot area, and we have a much smaller aiming area. So we look at that and we say, uh-oh, you know, we've got some issues here. For that kind of a shot, I probably need to see this one. I'm going to make sure it's level. I'm going to make sure it's centered. How much longer does it take? Really not that much more. Same distance. Bring it up to the target. So now we make sure it's centered and we fire it. I just put it right where I want it in the center of the area. Doesn't take a lot longer, but where the pause comes in is to allow me to see that leveled and centered sight as opposed to just roughly centered on the target. Could be high, could be low, could be a little left, could be a little right. Now I have to make certain that it's pretty much centered and level. So there's your other extreme shot. Now, let's look at some other common problems we like to see and like to shoot. And these are just put up as zones of penalty. Okay, we're not really talking about competitive shooting here. We're talking about acceptability here. So if we look at this area here, the aiming area that I'm allowed in here is more towards the center of his body. But now I've got to be mindful that there's an area here I don't want to hit. So what I'm looking for when I see that kind of a shot is I'm going to make sure it's either level or it can be slightly high. Again, same distance for all these shots. Make sure it's level, and it's going to go into the center. Looking at the opposite array from the other side. Make sure it's staying centered, and I'm going to make sure it's going where I want it to go. And I'm mindful, I'm aware of this, but my focus is, what do I need to see? And that is this. It can be slightly high or low, but it has to be centered, and it stays centered for each shot that I fire. This one, same thing, roughly centered, pretty much centered. Could be a little closer, but I don't want to push this for purposes of training. Now, the tougher ones, where you have someone coming up above cover, maybe there's a high value target, maybe there's a child in front, or something like that, and you have to put it above. You'd say, well, go for the head. Let's say you wanted, just for training, to shoot the available target, to give yourself a challenge. This is where this up or down has to become, I need to see it level. This is where I put in leveling. Any headshot or any sort of challenge target that's horizontal, this has to, for me, become level. That's the picture I see. So same distance, we bring it up, keep it level, and I make sure it stays level. And that's what I'm looking to see, that's what I'm looking to do. You may wonder, how can you fire the second shot with the same confidence you fired the first one? That has to do with how you grip the gun and your stance and your recoil recovery. There's a triangle of control. Your stance, your grip, and your trigger. Those are the hidden key elements that help you, when you see it, help you stay in control of the gun, so that when you fire it, you're not moving the sights too much, and you're recovering back to a second sight recovery, and you're able to fire the second shot as soon as the sight comes down, because it's really not lifting that much, and it's coming back to a predictable place. And you can use rhythm to help you, but basically I'm seeing this more than enough to make this shot with 110% confidence. That's my accountability visually that I'm looking for on the different targets. So what I'd like you to practice is go out there and don't just shoot a target and throw bullets as fast as you can. That's a lot of fun, but I call it junk training. What I want you to do is go out there and shoot with a purpose. Imagine yourself in a situation where you had to make a shot. You don't just shoot a guy anywhere to put him down. You shoot him where he can't live, to put him down as soon as possible. And that means center line of the body, hit the major blood vessels, the organs that produce a lot of bleeding, to stop it. Now you may say, well, I'm going to practice my headshots. Be that as it might, I always go for, if possible, the sure shot first before I take a chance. He's not moving right now, but what if he's moving? What if he's stepping? What if you're stepping? Now, shooting on the move, another interesting point. Seeing what you need to see doesn't change just because we happen to be in motion. So what I look for is, when I'm moving, when I'm practicing, is being able to read that picture continuously. Now, if I'm moving left to right, I'm having to keep the gun tracking and moving the gun slightly back. Every time I take a step, I've got to correct the gun. So seeing what I need to see means a continuous video picture, not just a still picture one time. A continuous video picture in your brain, helping you see what you need to see and maintain that focus while you're in motion. You won't be quite as accurate as you would be if you were standing still, but sometimes you have to be on the move in order to protect yourself. But you're still trying to shoot with fairly reasonable accuracy and keep it centered. Now remember, we look at this target and we say, oh my goodness, it wasn't all on the line. if I want to slow down to a crawl, I might as well be standing still. Again, I need to be in motion, make it real. But I'm still looking at a target. I can cover the holes with the palm of my hand with room to spare. So get out there, start thinking about this, start putting it into practice. And when you dry fire, I want you to pay attention to every shot you dry fire. When it went click, what did you remember seeing? Both this as well as where was it on the target when it went click. Then when you go to the range, do the same thing. Where is it? What did I see? Where was it on the target? Break your shot, take an instant snapshot. The biggest problem I see with calling shots and seeing what you need to see is people see the sight picture at the beginning of the trigger press. They don't see it at the instant the press is finished and the gun fires. It's when the gun fires, knowing where you're seeing it on the target and what you're seeing as it fires is what we're talking about in seeing what you need to see to make the shot. I'll see you on the range next time. Let me know how you do.